1, 2, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3. If you can see me and hear me, please give me a thumbs up. Oh no, we've had some technical issues already, but hopefully this will be straightforward. Let me see who we've got here. We got Rusty and Raymond and Ray, Andre, Eli, John, and Dopey Art and Ron and Pierre. So if you can see me, if everything seems okay, give me a thumbs up. I'm not sure if we are good or not because this is a whole new setup. I'm in my new office. Don't really know if everything's working as it should, but here we got a good day from Peter. Kathleen says, good to see and hear you. So I will take that as a good. We seem to be good. Mike says, you look and sound good. Excellent. Right, it's working. This is weird. This is the first time I've actually... I moved into this office a week ago, and this is the first time I've not spoken out loud, but the first time I've spoken like this, and I can hear my voice echoing around the room, and it's a bit strange, but it's good. The new office is good. We are all set up and ready to go. For some reason, my mouse is kind of stuck. I'm just trying to sort that. Just bear with me one sec. It's going to get really annoying if I cannot move my mouse. Okay, that's better. Great. Okay, who have we got? Wendy says, thumbs up, Ray's here. We got Bonnie, Elias. Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you for joining me today. This is a t-shirt design review session. Thank you to everyone who sent something in. We have, how many do we have? About 15 or something designs, I think, to go through. So we will go through those shortly. Before we do, you can please like and subscribe. That would be awesome. Sign up at michaelessick.com/live. That little URL there will take you to a place where you can sign up and get some free goodies. You can ask questions as we go through live. So any questions you have for me about t-shirt design, about illustration, about print on demand, anything like that, feel free to ask away as we go, and I will intermittently refer back to the comments and stuff like that. Okay, who have we got here in the comments so far? Bonnie says, looks and sounds great. Elijah says, thumbs up. Gary says, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Detour Shirts is here. Blue Tonic is here. Stan is here. Great, good. All right. So yeah, thank you for those comments and for joining me. I do have a new setup. This is a new camera, new office. I kind of splashed a bit of cash and got upgraded some stuff. So things should be looking good, but hopefully this will improve week to week as I get a bit more used to the camera setup and everything like that. Kathleen says, free goodies are the best goodies. They are indeed. You will find free goodies at the link below. Eddie is here, and Zipot from Northamptonshire. Glenda is here. Andre is here. Roland and Sue. Okay, awesome. So we are piling in the people now. Wonderful. Yes, and the other thing you'll see on your screen, if you stay to the end, you will have a chance of winning one of these lovely books, Little Book of T-shirt Ideas. Let's see if I can hold it up perfectly in shot. Look at that. Look at that. This is the Little Book of T-shirt Ideas. You could win a copy for free. This is a nice new glossy version because I was trying out some different print techniques. This is a special glossy one. So you could win this one next week if you stay to the end and follow the instructions. Okay. Let's get cracking with some reviews here today. We have about 15 reviews. I'm going to get right into them. And you can comment, share things, thoughts. It does often help when we get things going here, people seem to be able to share ideas very freely and stuff and improve ideas, whether that's jokes or puns or things like that. So feel free to share your own advice and recommendations in the comments as we go through. All right, first off, where shall we start? I guess we'll go in chronological order. So the first one that I received to be reviewed was this one, and I'll just make this a little bit bigger. Here we go. So this one was from Kevin, and it says, "Stay back, I can spit 15 feet." And we have a picture, I should say a photo, I guess, of a llama. And yeah, so pretty simple design there. Who did I say it was from? From Kevin. I think what we have here is a case of a decent concept and a poor execution. So the joke, I think, is pretty solid. We obviously have a connection between llamas and coronavirus and staying back, social distancing because I can spit at you. So I think there's a decent hook and a kind of joke there. What I think lets it down is, of course, the execution. So here we have very basic text, very what looks like a very pixelated and grainy image. I'm not sure how well you can see it on your monitors, but it looks really rough on the actual graphic. So I think if I can critique first on the design side, I would say this is a kind of beginner mistake, is to use a photo rather than an illustration. And here we've got a photo. I think it looks like it might have been attempted to vectorize it, but it hasn't really worked very well. So I would always say stay away from photos in your designs. You don't want to use photography because photography doesn't really look nice when it's printed. It also doesn't look that attractive when people are looking to buy a design. So I would suggest, number one, drawing this llama. Now you could draw it in a kind of realistic style. You could do a kind of pencil sketch approach, or what I would do with it is more of a kind of cartoony style. Now I do have my iPad here, but I've only just charged it. So if you bear with me a few seconds while I attempt to get into my iPad, which is not even charging despite the fact it's plugged in. Honestly. Okay, so yeah, what I would do with a design like this, let me just get my Apple Pencil in as well. I need to get myself a new iPad because this one is a pain to work with. Anyway, so yeah, what I would suggest, Kevin, is I would draw this llama. I would draw it like a cartoon style, a cute style, or something like that. You can make him look angry or whatever, but I would do that on the design side, and I would do some basic stuff with the text. For example, I would try and find a font that isn't this basic. I don't exactly know what font it is, but it's obviously a very basic style font and needs a bit of, something to give it a bit more attitude. So yeah, I think this is a case where decent concept, but poor execution. And if we can fire up the iPad, let's see if this works. Sorry, guys. Oh, is it going to work? Or is it going to crash my computer? It is going to work. Awesome. Okay, so let me give you my screen here. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. So, yeah. So, a llama, I would draw him, they got big ears like this or whatever. I would make him look a little bit angry or something like this. I'm trying to roughly follow your llama. But so you could do something like this. Keep it, basically your same kind of rough layout, but I would do some really simple stuff like have the text curved and have it interacting pretty closely with the illustration. So something like this. Something like that. And obviously this is a very simple sketch, but I think this would be, I'm not saying it's a concept that's going to set the world on fire, but at least this approach would give you something that would work a lot better on a t-shirt, would look more attractive, and would actually give you some, some chance of making sales, I think. Okay, let me dive into the comments here and see what's going on. Lucy says, loved your podcast on the Side Hustles show. Thank you for listening to that. That's great. Jabba Jaws is here. So Detour Shirt says, poorly clipped photo. Yep, definitely. Andrew says, looks like the internet meme style. Yeah, it kind of does, but it's not. I don't think it's obvious enough that it is intended to be like that. So I think that's letting it down. Elijah says, I actually didn't get the COVID part of this shirt until you mentioned it. Yeah, it's not especially obvious. One thing I thought you could do, you could put a mask on your llama or something to kind of emphasize that. Raymond says more of a pre-spit face shape. Yeah, you could do something like that. Detour Shorts has suggested, would you draw the llama out with a hand, like saying stay back? So yeah, you could do something like that, have his hoof like, I don't really know how to draw a hoof or something, but something like that. But yeah, that would make it obvious as well. That would be another thing that would help it. And Peter says maybe it should say 6 foot rather than 15 if it's a COVID reference. So yeah, that's another good point. Obviously, a llama can spit 6 foot and 15 foot, so it all works. And again, Elijah John's kind of doubled down on the mask as well. Yeah, I like the mask idea, how to spit through. Yeah, but you could just pull it down pretty quickly and do it. Pets Power says, hi, what about the text saying stay back, spit champ? Very nice. So instead of having this kind of, text underneath, we could go for something like spitting champ or. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of I think there is a decent concept there, but I think it could benefit from a bit more thought on the kind of exactly what we're trying to say and what joke we're trying to make with it. I don't think it's kind of quite there yet. So yeah, something like that, something like making it a bit catchier and a bit more succinct. I think the inference that you're going to spit on people, which may or may not be taken literally, is obviously not a great one. But I think there's definitely something there you could do with llamas spitting and distances and that kind of thing. Or what's the like say it, don't spray it, or something like that kind of joke. You could do something like that for llamas and things. Zipot says, what if you have no drawing skills? Well, you will have to hire somebody who does, or you will have to learn, basically. There are options for grabbing, pre-made graphics. There are places you can license and buy graphics online, but I would not suggest doing that, because anytime you're using someone else's artwork, even if it is fully commercially okay, or it says it is, you're just using something that is not your own, and anyone else can use it, and you're not producing something original that is protectable. So I would always recommend drawing your own artwork from scratch. In almost all cases. Elijah says the 15 foot is probably an insider knowledge for llama enthusiasts. Yeah, good point. Okay. WTD says, Michael, different topic. Do you think it's worth the effort to try and translate your designs into other languages on Amazon? That's a good question. I don't personally do the translating. I know there's a couple of software options out there, like Merch Wizard will do the translating for you. But I personally try to, well, I don't worry about it too much, basically. I think if someone's going to, use one of my designs, or if someone's going to buy one of the designs, it's unlikely that it's going to be a huge deal that they don't find it in their native language and stuff. I'm basically saying that I'm catering to English speakers, and if we pick up some, foreign languages in the process, then great. But I'm not kind of, making a huge deal out of that, if that makes sense. Okay, Grey Elephant says, welcome back. Thank you. All right, let's move on to another design here so we can get through some of these. Andy sent this one over. Let me see. I think it's this one here. Yeah, so this one says Groovy Bigfoot. And this is a, see if I can zoom in here. This is a Bigfoot design. Bigfoot wearing like Elton John style or John Lennon style glasses. It says groovy Bigfoot. He's got headphones over his head, and it says hear the howl. So if I'm honest about this one, Andy, I'm kind of struggling with the overall kind of joke here. I think there's a general joke to be made around Bigfoot and kind of put you kind of got this disco font. So I'm kind of thinking like 70s disco. That's kind of the approach you're going down, kind of a disco feel. But there's not really that much going on here to really hang it on. So I think it needs a bit more work. I think if you can do a kind of if we just put together disco and Bigfoot and smash those together, I think that's fine, and there could be some jokes there. What I think you'd want to do is see if you can find some puns, and particularly around words that are to do with Bigfoot and then words that are to do with disco. Is there some way you can get those two connected? I'm sure people in the comments will already be thinking, and they might share some. But yeah, I think as it stands, I don't see who would really be interested in this design. I don't get the hook, don't get the joke, and I think it needs more work. I mean, even just here in your description, you've got if you sport this styling Sasquatch design, like even styling Sasquatch is kind of a little bit more of a hook than kind of what we've got here. Just saying groovy Bigfoot, I don't think there's much there. Zipot says the Sasquatch stomp. So there you go. Something else there. I think the joke has to be, Bigfoot 70s style. That conflict, that contrast between two things could be funny. But I think you've got to work out exactly, the best way of doing that. And I think a pun, I think there will be some pun options out there that you could do for that. But yeah, I'm not really seeing it here. In terms of design, put that to one side and let's just talk about the design. Not a lot wrong there. You've got limited colors. You have a simple illustration. It is an illustration. It's quite clear. I think some of your lines could be a bit thicker, some of your line work and stuff. And you kind of have a little bit of two different styles going on. For example, if you look at the shadow around the earphones here, how you've done the shadow, you've kind of done it as a kind of vector shape block shadow, and that's not really the way you've approached the shadowing and the details on the Bigfoot face itself. So I think there's work to be done there. I would like to have it look a bit more together. Also, just here, this is really nitpicking, but there's kind of it looks like there's almost like a little bit of an outer glow or a little bit of pixels that have been left over from cutting or something. So I'd try and sort that out as well. But yeah, design wise, the design will fix itself, I think, once the concept gets fixed. And yeah, like Raymond has said here the howl needs to be bigger. It's just kind of hidden up here, almost like some kind of little, subtitle or I don't know, brand name or something like that. So that's not really working for me. So yeah, Jordan says colors are effective. Dito Shirt says he doesn't get it. So yeah, I think there's some work needed on this one, but I think there could be something there. All right, next one. This one is from Zawates. Zawates. Okay, this one says, "Sorry, I'm Latte." Now this is not. I don't know if this is kind of a popular pun. Maybe it is, but I like it. I think this is a very nice illustration. Really good, clear design work. A little bit of halftones going on, which is always nice. Kind of a bit of a retro feel to it. So if we can again critique, let's talk about the concept on one side and then the design on the other. So concept-wise, sorry, I'm Latte. Simple pun, very easy to understand joke. I think it's fine and it works. In terms of design, I think the issue that's annoying me here is the text and how it's difficult to really read Latte. I don't know why you've gone with the black for Latte. I would stick with the white. And in fact, I would make all the text white. I think that would make the design work together a little bit more. I also think I don't know whether this is conscious or not, but what it reminded me of a little bit is the "Sorry, we're closed" kind of sign, which would usually be like white on red, um, and that's kind of hinted at, but it's not kind of followed through. And I think, you could use that. You could use the sorry, we're closed" kind of typical sign, and just make your text white. Even make the text. Let me pull up what I'm talking about here. So yeah, something like this is kind of what I had in mind. Um, and I think you could almost imitate that, maybe even with. I mean, the font usage that you've done anyway is nice, but yeah, white. All I'm really trying to say is white text would make this work a little bit better. And I'm not sure having the text quite so close to your illustration is necessary. To me, if this is it kind of depends what you're going to do with this design, if it's intended to be a t-shirt or if it's intended to be some other kind of product. But personally, I would be tempted to do something like this. So you've got a really nice illustration. There's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of clear. You got your little coffee guy, and he's got his watch on. Looks like an Apple Watch or something, and he's spilling a bit of coffee out the top there, something like that. I would probably, because I'm a stickler for following cliches and something, and the old cliche or the old pattern is simply to break up the text. So, in fact, I would probably be tempted to do it like this. I'd have sorry, I'm, and then latte at the bottom, like that. Keep it the same colors. Make the text white, of course, but otherwise, I think that kind of layout. What you do when you break up the text like that sometimes is it's almost like a visual clue for people that there's a joke here. Like when you break up the text, when you put, you kind of create this horizontal line that breaks up the joke, and that just helps people kind of go, oh, this is a joke, and they, kind of sorry, I'm latte. It's like a little visual pause in the design. So I would consider that, but that's just kind of me and my personal approach. Otherwise, I think it's a really nice design, very well executed, and just a couple of tweaks to really put it over the line, if that makes sense. Okay. Let's see here. Lijon says, nice illustration. I would love to increase the size of the halftones on these a bit more. Yeah, you could certainly do that. Again, it's just kind of a little bit of detail, but yeah, increase the size of the halftones would be a nice touch as well. Pets Power, what about having Latte Cup running, as in running to catch up? Yeah, that's probably the way I would have approached this. I mean, I like the illustration as it is. It's an attractive illustration. Would a coffee cup running communicate the meaning a bit more strongly? Perhaps, in my view, I think that's probably true. But again, it's up to you, and it depends on kind of what the approach you want to go for. But yeah, a nice, unique design, well executed. Okay, next one here is from Leaf. And this was actually, I think, a concept apparently that I shared. It did sound familiar when I saw the design. Steg your pardon. So obviously we've got a Stegosaurus, and there's some really good stuff going on in this design. So what's really working is the illustration style is nice. It's quite unique. It looks to me like it has been hand drawn by Leaf, and it's a custom design. It's nice flat colors, but at the same time it's got this kind of hand drawn effect, so we're not looking at like a too vectorized and too polished illustration. It's actually quite natural looking, and I think that's good. Obviously we've got here handwritten text, so we've got hand lettering, if you like, with the text, which is nice. And you can see Leaf's tried to kind of work in the text into the negative space in between the Stegosaurus, what are those things, plates. So I think that's great. There's a lot of stuff that's really good about this. If this was my design, a couple of kind of nitpicky things. I I don't know why you've chosen a different color green for the text than using the green of the Stegosaurus. And likewise for this text, this color, this kind of browny orange, doesn't seem to be matching any of the colors here. So I would be tempted to, or I would suggest keeping the colors as limited as possible and just matching the colors to what you've got in the illustration. I don't see any reason why you would want to, add more colors and not use the ones that you've already got in the illustration, which looks really nice anyway. Um, if I'm nitpicking a bit, this font across the top is a little bit. I mean, I understand kind of why you've gone with a kind of pointy approach. I think it's because that then allows the text to fit into the plates. But personally, this looks a little bit too distinct from this text. Like, I really like this hand lettering style. It's very playful and friendly and soft and easy to look at. And I think it jars a little bit with this one, which almost looks like a metal band or like a logo or something like that. So I'd be tempted to redo the top text in this kind of style. I don't think you're going to lose a lot, even if you can't get the text inside the negative space. I don't think that's the end of the world. I think it would really benefit from a more of a, matching the fonts. It would then tie the design together quite nicely, I think. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of nitpicking a bit, but I think this is a great design. It's very close to kind of how I would approach a design like this. I think if you were someone who was into Stegosauruses, or you were a parent of a kid who really likes dinosaurs and Stegosauruses, then this design, with a few tweaks, could really, really nail it. I think it's really good. Detour says nice pun, like the art too. Absolutely. Petspower says fun design and pun. Ron says effective text and colors. Detour thinks the fonts are cool. And Rusty says, does matching the colors take away from the drawing? I don't think so, Rusty. I mean, it can depend on the design, but typically, I think there's plenty of examples where matching your colors doesn't take away from anything, and it ties the whole design together. So yeah, I think that works. Dom says, does Steg need that apostrophe? Yeah, I mean that's a decent question. I think you could argue it either way. I don't think you always have to use an apostrophe when you're shortening a word like that, but sometimes it can help to explain the joke and make it obvious if it isn't initially. So yeah, kind of, I don't know, personal discretion on that one. Andrew says, is the font hand drawn? Yes, I think this is hand drawn font. I'm pretty sure, just because it seems to be matching the style of the illustration as well. And Jordan says, matching the colors makes it look more silk screen to me. Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's something I always kind of have in the back of my head is, what if this design blows up and I want to order 100 screen printed or more and ship them out myself? And if you've got a design with 7 different colors, then that's going to be very expensive to screen print. And if you keep your colors limited and you match the colors and stuff and you keep it to 2 or 3 colors or 4, then that's going to be a lot cheaper to produce if you are doing a screen printed run of shirts. So yeah, I always kind of design with that in mind. Detour says, I wonder if you could make the face say beg your pardon. Yeah, I think you could do something like that if you wanted to, but again, it's kind of, personal preference and how you want to really take the design and stuff. All right, let's go on to the next one. We are rocking and rolling. We have about 20 minutes left or something like that. So let's see how we go here. This one from Dennis. Funny Nutcracker joke. Don't crack my nuts. So, couple of initial issues here that jumped out at me. I don't know how well you guys can see this one on your screen, but I'll zoom in a little bit. So this says, don't crack my nuts. And we have a Nutcracker who looks like he's in some discomfort. And so first off, there's a design issue here, which is you've got this stroke, this white stroke going all around the illustration. And then just around here, it just disappears for like this little space. And it just looks like it's been cropped or cut, or you've cut something out to get it out of the illustration or something. Anyway, weird, not very nice, looks amateurish because of that. So I would definitely fix that. Um, the rest of the illustration, obviously you've got some halftones, which can be good, and it does look like a nutcracker, I think, but I don't know. To me, if I saw this illustration with no accompanying text, I would not think nutcracker. So I do think you might want to go back and rethink how we illustrate this and how we make it look perhaps more like a nutcracker. And I mean, my first port of call would, of course, just to be to Google nutcracker and look at images. Um, and I think maybe doing something that is a bit more like the classic nutcracker. You know, your version looks like a real guy almost, or like I don't really know how to say it, but it looks like you've illustrated him not as a doll, not as a nutcracker doll. And I think there's no reason in my mind. I think, in fact, the idea and the concept is boosted if you illustrate it as a doll. Even if we look for like nutcracker illustration to find some reference images. Like this is what a nutcracker looks like. All the way down to the style of the eyes and the mustache and things like that, or this guy. I think also, the blue, you've got a blue hat. To me, that doesn't say nutcracker. It doesn't say Christmas. I'd want to get your reds and your greens in there because this is a Christmas related design. So yeah, anything that you can do to make it more Christmassy and make it obvious that we're talking about a nutcracker here, I think would be beneficial. In terms of you probably might want to get your nutcracker in head and shoulders as well, so you can have like his red suit to again make it kind of obvious. Text wise and layout wise, I think that works. I would be tempted to, again, because we're talking nutcrackers and Christmas, let's go for a Christmassy style font or something like that. However you approach that, or a more kind of classic Christmas font. Anything that just kind of makes the point more obvious, I would go down that route. Concept wise, I guess it does work. Yeah, I mean, don't crack my nuts. Applied to a nutcracker, it works. It works as a concept. I think it just needs maybe the design bringing up a few levels to make it work better. Okay. Let's see here. A couple of comments coming through. Okay. Merch by Paul says the text needs to be bigger. It's more important than the graphic. Yeah, that's probably true as well. And even if you shrink the guy's head and you get his shoulders in, the Nutcracker's shoulders and stuff, then that would probably deal with that balancing of text versus image as well. Reza says, I think the illustration was not finished. Yeah, perhaps. Kevin says, wish it was more Christmassy. Absolutely. Accidental Fire says, do you recommend putting hand-drawn illustration in a posting title on Redbubble or TeePublic? Yeah, I did notice that. Thanks for pointing that out because I did want to mention it. Yeah, I would not do that. There's no benefit here from including hand-drawn illustration in your title. If anything, you're probably confusing matters and making it more difficult for it to be found because you don't have a nice, succinct, simple title. For a title like this, I would go for the text on the shirt. So I would go for "Don't Crack My Nuts, Funny Nutcracker" T-shirt, something like that. I would even keep it more simple for TeePublic, but that's how I would approach it for Amazon. Okay, Raymond says mouth shape needs to be more puppet shape. Yeah, I think we're agreed on things like that. Wendy as well. Alondo, maybe full body in a defensive position like a penalty kick. Yeah, nice, like putting hands over the sensitive area might work. Jordan says a more classic looking nutcracker. Yeah, and the text could be, oh no, not the nuts. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you can approach that joke of nuts, protect your nuts and all that kind of stuff. Reza, not cubistic. Merch Public School. Hi everyone. Hi Michael. Hello to you. Pink sweat, says Kathleen. Yeah, it does look a little bit pink. Yeah, so that could be an issue. Lucy, I would also bring the "don't crack" in front of the hat. Okay, yeah, you could do that. Especially if you've got the kind of a big empty kind of space, that would be nice to lose a little bit, to move into that a little bit more. Where was I here? Sue is here watching the live. Jacqueline is very late to the party, but she's still very welcome. Frank, text too close to illustration. Uh, Possibly. I don't see a big problem there for me personally, but I guess that's personal preference again. Frank, it would also work with a peanut illustration. That way it could sell all year round. So yeah, don't crack my nuts. So yeah, nuts. Very uh, well-worn joke there. With the multiple meanings around the word nuts. Jabberjaw says, question, I'm not good with puns, but I'm okay. I'm an okay artist and wanted to make shirts with my original characters. Is that okay? Or go with niches or find some way to combine the two? Um, so, yeah, I think if you are a good artist and you have the ability to create stuff that works well for t-shirts and designs that look nice on shirts, then that's fine. I think you do have to find a way to hook into something because just your unique original designs, whatever that is, needs to find a home within some market that's out there looking for something. So that could be a market around a particular topic or subject, or it could be around a particular style or something like that. But whatever it is, you need to find who's going to buy your shirt. So if I go back to my slides here, I think I have, yeah, I have my points here. So right here, you can see, if I just hide your comment, um, big questions that you need to ask yourself. Who is going to wear the shirts? Who's going to wear this design? Why are they going to wear it? And how are they going to find it? Those are the big three things you want to ask yourself about any design. So if you have really good design abilities, that's great, but you still need to know who's going to wear this thing. And you need to have an answer to that. And the better your answer is, the more chance you have of actually making sales. So, yeah, and just on the pun front, even if you're not good with puns, there are methods and ways to come up with funny phrases and sayings. One of the ways, or a lot of the ways, I kind of explain in my book, the little book of t-shirt ideas. So there are ways to learn that stuff, and I'm putting out new resources and sharing tips and ideas all the time. So it's not like you're either good at puns or you're not. This is puns and wordplay and jokes and concepts for designs. Those are all things that can be learnt and taught, and you can get better at them through practice and through trying and through following concepts and stuff. So yeah, I hope that helps you, Jabberjaws, and there'll be more resources from me along the way on that front. Mr. Waskestedasan, sorry. Do you have designers in your team, and which tier are you? I do have a couple of designers I work with from time to time when I'm not able to create a design like I'd like. I was recently tiered up along with everybody else to tier 100K on Merch by Amazon. I think before that I was 50K, I think. So yeah, we've got plenty of space to add new designs now, as I think almost all of us have. Melinda says, so many color choices for the shirts. Is that recommended? I think she's referring back to this one. To be honest, I don't even pay attention to that anymore. I think it might be TeePublic has by default, it just allows you to have them on any color, and you just pick the default color. I don't know whether you can disable the color options in TeePublic. It's been a while since I've uploaded there, so. But I don't think So if someone likes this design, they're going to land on it. They're not going to, if they're going to buy it, they're not going to be turned off because there's too many of these options here, because they're just going to be like, oh, I like it on navy, and go and buy it. So I don't think it's something you need to worry about too much, that people are given too many color options, as long as your default color is nice and neat and easy for people to see and stuff like that. Okay, Jacqueline says, I think 5 or 6 is better, as too much choice they can end up not buying. And Reza says, who's the right market like Nutcracker? So I would go for the funny Christmas t-shirt market in general. That's kind of broad, but that is something that happens every year. When it gets to Christmas, people are looking for funny t-shirts around Christmas and funny puns and jokes. And every year there are new puns and new jokes that appear and stuff. So I would kind of go down that route. And I think Nutcrackers is could be something that people search for as well. So obviously people may search for funny Nutcracker shirt, Nutcracker Christmas shirt, Nutcracker Christmas joke, things like that. So yeah, I'd make sure you get those kind of things going. Okay, Rusty, I am PC based. What hardware and software would you recommend so I could learn how to do freehand drawings? Well, I'm a bit confused. Well, if you're trying to learn how to draw, then the best thing would be a pencil and paper. I'm assuming you know how to draw, but you want to kind of take it digital. I use an iPad Pro to do most of my drawing and sketching on, and then I use Photoshop to touch things up and get things finalized and ready for the design. But it's really about finding what works for you. Photoshop is a bit expensive, especially if you're starting out. So there's a number of good free options out there: Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo. Affinity Photo is like a Photoshop equivalent. I think it's about £50 or $50 or something like that, a one-off payment. So that would probably be a good option. But yeah, I like the iPad Pro workflow. I know other people like to hand draw stuff and sketch it in and things, or they use Adobe Illustrator to do vector work. But yeah, there's plenty of options out there. That's what I use. Accidental Fire says, I don't think you can disable colors on TP. So yeah. Merch Public School, quote idea. Check out my huge peanuts. Yeah, that could work. Ron says you can select TeePublic colors. Mr. Washkesaidasan, do you think there is a limit for the POD business because there aren't enough niches to fill 200K or more slots? Do you think it's okay and effective to just do the same niches after a time again? I think that wow, there's like a million questions to answer in this one. Do I think there's a limit for the POD business because of slots? I don't think. I think you're talking about merch, but if we take a step back and say print on demand, which is simply a way of printing T-shirts, I don't think there's a limit, especially if we're talking about individual designers. I don't think there's a limit to how you can grow that business. There may be a limit, and there certainly are significant difficulties in trying to grow sustainably through a platform like Merch by Amazon, if that was all you were doing. So if you are just doing merch, then when you get to several thousand designs, then trying to really keep scaling that up and seeing and maintaining growth is difficult because you have all kinds of issues. You have all kinds of copycat issues and stuff like that. So that definitely there's maybe not a physical limit, but there's certainly kind of diminishing returns after a while, which is why I would always recommend that people think about Merch by Amazon and Redbubble and Etsy and all these things as ways to help you build your platform, whether that's through giving you some relatively straightforward cash flow that you can then reinvest into your own brand, or something that's a bit of a bigger, more difficult thing to build and takes more time, or whether it's through trying to use Etsy to kind of build your own platform and kind of collect your fans and use these to help you do things like that. So yeah, I certainly don't think long term it's not recommended to build a business entirely on any of these platforms. And that doesn't just mean you should be on lots of these platforms, although you may be. It also means what's your long term, where are you taking this business and what you're doing. So for one example is that the designs I create, we now license them offline as well, and we have offline licensing deals with various merchandise companies and retailers and stuff. So if you do this well, and if you're able to create designs that people like and respond to well online, then you can take those designs offline and build a licensing business that has all these different channels working for you. So hope that helps, Mr. Washkashtasan. Kathleen, you can limit the number of colors on TeePublic. Okay. Seems we're going back and forth on that one. Raymond says red and green colors for Christmas. Yes, I would always usually default to that, and usually default to either a red t-shirt or a green t-shirt for the actual fabric for Christmas designs. Amelia says, do you rely on organic traffic on Amazon or use ads as well? I just rely on organic traffic. I haven't had much I haven't really given it much effort, to be fair, but I haven't really tried with ads on Amazon or elsewhere, apart from Instagram, where I've had some success on there with sponsored posts and stuff. Jordan says Affinity Photo / Designer is a really good deal. Absolutely, I agree with that. Elijah says he loves Affinity Designer on the iPad. I haven't really played around with that myself yet, but I do kind of want to. And if I have some time, I'd like to really try and move my whole workflow onto the iPad, but right now I don't. Melinda says, do you have a podcast by any chance? Melinda, I do not yet, but I am considering, thinking, mulling things over in my head about starting something like that. Joe says, great advice. And Frank says, hey, I would love to learn more about offline licensing. Well, Frank, make sure you're signed up at michaelessick.com/live so that you'll be able to find out when I do have something to share more about that. And Mr. Washgesteiden says, could you look over my spreadsheet shop and tell me some things that I can do better with my designs, please? I can't do that now, and but you can. I will probably be doing similar review next week. So if you're quick off the mark when I send out my email next week, then if you reply to that email, there's a chance that I would review one of your designs. However, I just review designs in these sessions. I don't review people's stores. If you do want a more detailed look, you would like me to look into your store and into your strategy, into your whole business, and give you kind of my opinions and plans, then you can email me, michael@michaelessick.com. And I have been doing some private consultancy as well. So if you would like a kind of private one-on-one session, do please email me and I'll send you some details about how that works. Okay, Frank, does offline licensing bring in more revenue than POD? For me personally, not yet, but it is growing every year, and I do think it will be a significant. Will it ever catch it up and take it over? I'd like it if it did. I do think online is still going to be a massive part, especially with everything growing at the moment. So I think you would be very foolish to ignore online and just go offline. But at the same time, I do think there's a lot of opportunities offline as well. Jacqueline, love your lives. Always such good value. Thanks. No problem, Jacqueline. Ron says you do great with a podcast. Thank you, Ron. Frank says he's on my mailing list. Cool. And Mr. Washington says, thank you so much for your help. We appreciate that. No problem. Okay, a couple more to get through. Let's see if we can rush through these in the last 10 minutes. This one by Matt, Ray Guns. So this is a nice design. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. So it says history of ray guns, and we have 2078 all the way up to 2245. So I like it. A nice clean design, clean concept and a joke and a good hook. I don't know why you've made this available. I think it's only available as a back print. I would not recommend that because I think most people don't want to buy a t-shirt that's just printed on the back. And I think you would, you can offer the option of having it printed on the back, but I would not do that at the expense of having it on the front. So I would always recommend doing it on the front by default. If you're feeling that the design's a bit too big to just have on the front, then I think you do have a bit of white space here. You could pack things together a little bit tighter if you really wanted to. But apart from that, it's a nice design. I think nitpicking a little bit, but could you do something with the font to make it a little bit more, retro font or something? Kind of that retro. What's it called? Retro futurism kind of look. I think you could do a little bit more, just push it. But yeah, nice design. And then you had another one, I think, Matt, which I just wanted to highlight because I thought it was I had a good idea about it, which I thought you could run with. So this one is called Tour de Space, and it says Tour de Space, and then it has a start-finish line, and it's obviously the planets orbiting the sun in a kind of laid out like a race. I don't know if this is just me, but it seemed obvious to me that the obvious pun here would be space race rather than Tour de Space. So I only wanted to show this design just to say that you should go with space race instead of this. And then space race as a pun, of course, could work as well. You don't have I mean, this is cool, and I get the joke. It's obviously a kind of visual pun as well, but I'd also like to see this design rendered as I'd like to see illustrations of the planets racing against one another. It would maybe be a tricky one to kind of illustrate all the planets, but I don't know. I like the idea of space race. I think it's a good joke. It's a good pun, and I just wanted to flag that up. Okay, much public school. No, there is no limit on niche ideas. I find me one all the time without a single result. And yes, they're highly desired topics. Besides, all niches can always be retouched with current trends. Yeah, I think what you're saying, much public school, is there's always more niches. There are always new topics. There are always new trends, and that's absolutely true. However, there are limits to what people purchase, and the total market share out there and stuff like that. So, yeah, I would think it is difficult to recommend that people constantly be pursuing the latest trend and stuff like that. I would always recommend that people try to find a niche and a topic that they're really interested in, and that they could really build a longer term business on the back of, and then you can build a brand, and then you can kind of build something out that's stronger than just print on demand or merch by Amazon or whatever it might be. Okay, merch public school says planners should be in lanes and not on lines. Planets should be in lanes and not on lines. Okay, cool. Right, a few more designs. Let's rush through these. This one from Vince. Vacation is booked, and we have a illustration of a book. Not really a lot I can say here. Vince, did I say your name was? Yeah, Vince. A very simple design. Not a lot to really, it's not very attractive. It's not very aesthetically pleasing, and I think it's a little bit basic. Yeah, so I think I would stay away from really basic stuff like that. I would try to ask yourself, how could you reimagine, do something exciting and different? This design probably wouldn't qualify for copyright protection as it stands. Even if you hand drew this graphic, I think it's not really a design that would probably qualify for copyright protection, which is important, because if someone steals your designs, then you can get them taken down and stuff like that. So I just stay away from the simple stuff, and you really want to push yourself to do things that are more interesting and take more work and are more engaging as pieces of art. Okay, this one from, who was this one from? Elena. So this is, I think it's in Spanish, despegando. I think it means take off or taking off. So again, this is a little bit too simple to really be much, to really give me much to work with, but I think it needs, it definitely needs more work. I think there's maybe what you're trying to do is kind of make a reference to kind of isolation and like being alone and stuff, and it's kind of communicated through the negative space, but I just don't see who's really going to respond well to this design. I don't think it's aesthetically pleasing, and I don't think it really works as a t-shirt design. There's a lot of negative space, which obviously can work, but I think with your illustration being so small, I'm really struggling to really find anything to hook onto and make much sense of that. One from Amy Catalanton, is that this one? Yeah. Nice, simple illustration. I don't really like the font that you've gone for here. I think I would go for more of a Halloween font. And again, I would not use white here. I would try and use yellow, I think, for the text. But yeah, I mean, simple design. Could it be, what could we do to push it? I think that there could be more to make it work a little bit better. It's just a little bit on the simple side, I think. And whether you do something like a cat, you do the full cat body with a pumpkin on his head or something, or just make it a little bit cuter. This is a little bit, what's the word? You're trying to make a connection between you and the person who's going to buy this, or the person who's looking at the person wearing it. And this is not, the pun is cute, and I can imagine it working, but I think the actual illustration here isn't really going to appeal that well. And if we did something like a cat with a pumpkin on his head and it was kind of cute and more funny and more playful and a bit more emotion in the illustration, I think that would really work. So yeah, hope that helps you there, Amy. Carmen sent this panda eating noodles. Again, nice illustration. Don't think we need text on the bowl. I don't know if this text means something behind. It looks kind of like the Panda Express logo kind of thing to me. I'm not seeing a hook. I'm not seeing who's really going to buy it and respond to it unless I'm missing something. Apart from just kind of general, Japanese style, kawaii style design. I guess it works on those lines, but I don't think it's really that strong. And put up against other designs from that kind of market, I think it would struggle to really sell. So yeah, I think more work needed on that one. Andre says weekends are made for agility. So this is obviously a very simple design silhouette thing. We see this very frequently on a lot of print on demand sites. So I guess what you're really asking, Andre, is does it work as a niche or whatever? And I don't know. That's I don't know anything about agility training for dogs. But your design is perfectly pleasant enough. Yeah, it's not really my kind of design. Not the kind of design I would produce. But there's nothing really I can critique about the design. It's simple enough. I don't really know why you got this. I guess the dog's jumping over something, but it's not really clear what he's jumping over from here. So there's just this big black line. But again, I'm kind of nitpicking on the design side there. So, and this one from Jen, this says living sober, and this is a butterfly. Again, very little for me to really get my teeth into on this design because I don't really know what it's about, apart from, of course, being sober. I don't know whether the butterfly has a kind of meaning within kind of sober groups or Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever it might be. I don't really like the butterfly's face. It looks a little bit creepy. It reminds me of is it Silence of the Lambs or something where there's the skull on the butterfly or something. So yeah, there's just so little here with basic designs like this. It's very hard for me to really understand the hook if there is one. Here's one from last one here from Sue, Water Meow. So this is a cat and it's a watermelon and he's drinking some orange juice. I think this illustration wise is okay. I mean, I can certainly nitpick. I don't really know what's going on with the feet here and the arms. It's kind of unclear whether this is a watermelon with a cat. Well, it is a watermelon with a cat's face, or is it a cat that's been turned into a watermelon? I don't know. But water meow is pretty weak to me. I would go for water meowlon, and someone has already done it, and here it is. And I think that's a better rendering of the concept. With this design, it's not really clear what we're looking at. And with here, we've got a cute cat inside of a watermelon. And this is kind of what I was talking about with this one. If you had a cute cat with a pumpkin on his head, the emotional connection there, the fun and the cuteness and stuff would be that much more, that much better and stronger, I think. So yeah, couple of tips there, and we are just about done. So let me take a few questions and comments. Let me see here what we've got, and then I'll wrap it up. So if you do have any questions, please ask them now because we are bringing it in for a landing. Is there any limits of niches in the POD business, and would you recommend to do the same topic after a year again because of lack of ideas? I think I kind of answered already about the niche question. There's always new niches. The question really is, are you doing stuff that's working? And I think if you're producing designs and you're not seeing sales, and obviously you want to give it, a little bit of time for things to bed in, but I was making sales within 30 days of posting on Redbubble. So if you're posting stuff and you're not getting results within a month or two maximum, then you have to go and ask yourself what's not working here. And it could be the design, it could be the idea, it could be the market, it could be the keywords, but you need to figure that out and then improve and get better at that. Would I go back to the same topic after a year because of a lack of ideas? I'm not really sure. Do the same topic again after a year? Yeah, not really following the question there. Okay, Raphael, hi, I'm a follower of you. Is the shirt a market too saturated? My question to you is because it's really hard to sell a shirt on Amazon or TeePublic because people upload a lot of trash design. The amount of trash that people upload has been the case forever. People upload trash blog posts and trash YouTube videos and trash TikToks, and that doesn't mean that YouTube is something you should not do. For example, there's always winners and there's always losers. There's always more losers than there are winners, and the job is to try and find how you can be a winner rather than a loser in these places. There's always lots of crap. The thing is that there's always people looking for stuff and buying stuff, and yeah, the quest is to try and get your stuff in front of those people. I've uploaded design earlier this week, and it's sold within a few days. What's the difference there? It's that I had an insight and a good idea, and I was able to execute it, and I was right about my hunch that this trend would start picking up and take off. Now that's the game, really. So it doesn't matter that there's a lot of trash out there. All that matters is that someone searching for a design can find your design. And that does usually mean stuff like, pretty niche stuff and trends that are just beginning to hit. It doesn't mean, obviously, you don't go out and just upload another, whatever it is, sunset design, Bigfoot, or whatever it might be. You don't just do the stuff that everyone else is doing. If you do that, you're really going to fail. What you want to do is you want to zig when everyone else is zagging. Okay, Jordan, the booked pun is good, but the typography doesn't look very vacation-y. Yeah, I think it's just not been worked out very, very hard, that design. Raymond says candles in the eyes. I think that's for the Catalantern. Minimalistic is the term you're looking for. I can't remember when I was using that. Elijah says, darn it, now I want some noodles. Merch Public School says the font of agility makes letters off center. Yeah, that may be true. Petspower says, thanks for the great tips. Sue says, great, thanks for the advice. Elijah says, great tips about making the emotional connection with your design. Yeah, I think that's probably the big takeaway from today's lesson. Making that emotional connection. Rusty says, learned lots. Thank you. Frank says, do you recommend advertising with Amazon? Not personally. I know some people do very well with that, but I have not really played with it and can't really recommend it. Lucy says, great, thanks. WTD says, which are your favorite POD sites? If you go to michaelessick.com, then you scroll down, you'll find the best print-on-demand sites for artists. And this is a full detailed, if it even loads, here it comes. This is a big, detailed, deep dive into all the print-on-demand sites I recommend right now. There's 7 right there, so you can go and read that at your leisure. And if you sign up and put your email address in on that blog post, you will get access to an Airtable base, which has a list of like 40 different sites and has them sorted by traffic and social media following and stuff like that. So it's well worth checking that out if you haven't already. Ron says, Pinterest versus Instagram to drive traffic conversions. I've always had my most success with Instagram, but I know people do very well from Pinterest as well. I think it's just finding what works for you. Amy says, no such thing as oversaturation if your work is high quality. Absolutely true. There's always demand for quality stuff that is insightful and that hits the target. And usually it's easier to hit the target when you are doing something new and something that's just beginning to trend and just beginning to hit, rather than, of course, doing stuff that everyone's done 1,000 times before. Elijah, should my Redbubble TeePublic profile have a curated, consistent look to its designs? Right now, my accounts here showcase designs that are all over the place. I don't think it's that important, to be honest. I have done that myself. I've, created designs, created a new account when I wanted to kind of do stuff. But actually, my approach was I had these designs, they were usually kind of around a certain niche. And then wanted to do more kind of throwaway designs, like stuff that would be really, uh, yes, designs that were really quick that I wasn't that invested in, but I just wanted to hop on trends and I wanted to just, shove them out there. So there were designs that I was not that proud of. So I created a second account for that. And that account had, so I kind of thought of it that way, not the other way, which is what most people think of. They start with an account with lots of stuff across various niches that's kind of haphazard, and then they do a more curated account. I kind of did it the other way around, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think most of your sales that you're going to get through Redbubble or TeePublic, they're going to come through organic searches. And that means they're not going to be that invested in checking out your profile. Don't get me wrong, people will check out your profile and you may get multi-sales if you have a more curated account. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. Okay, EvilBit says, thanks, no problem. Jabberjaw says, thanks. Melinda says, is it too late for election shirts? No, but again, if you're doing a Biden 2020 shirt, it was too late 5 years ago. So you've got to do something different. You've got to be on top of what's going on. You've got to have some insight that other people don't have. But no, it's never too late for a good idea and a good design. Jennifer says thanks. Glenda says great. Raymond says excellent. Thank you. Mitch says she starts in reverse. The image usually inspire me to find the quotes. How is your thought process? I usually start with puns and jokes. So usually it is text based, and then I look to the illustration for me. Reza says one store for one niche. Is it good? It depends. Yeah, like I just said, I don't think it really matters that much that you have a single store for each niche that you have. Emily says, can you have more than one Redbubble account? I do, so I think it's okay. I don't think it's against their terms. Elijah says, thanks for answering my questions. No problem. Anna says, thank you. And Zipot says, thanks. Okay, so guys, if you'd like to win a copy of the Little Book of T-shirt Ideas, this nice new glossy version with a glossy finish, you can, this is how you can win it. If you go to my YouTube channel, if you're watching on YouTube, then that's great. All you have to do once this stream finishes is go and comment in the comments beneath the video. So not in the live stream, but go and comment beneath. Tell me something you got out of today's video. I will pick one commenter at random and they will get a copy of the book sent to them next week. So don't forget, of course, to sign up at michaelessick.com to be subscribed to my newsletter where you get secret tips and tricks. Sent something out earlier this week for a really quick idea to help you come up with ideas that are really visually quite useful. So you want to make sure you're signed up there at michaelessick.com/live. I think that's pretty much it. I don't see any more questions coming in right now. Just a few thank yous and stuff, which is lovely. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Merch Public School. So I think we'll do live stream again, same time next week. So I will leave it there. Please do subscribe, like, comment, whatever you have to do. And a couple of questions come in quick. You were lucky, Chris. Chris Lucky. Which creative techniques can you recommend to come up with new quotes for shirts? I recommend this technique. It's called the Little Book of T-shirt Ideas. It has 14 framework ideas that you can apply to any niche. But more importantly, perhaps, is the couple of chapters at the start, which kind of walk you through my idea process and tell you exactly how I think about things. So yeah, I would recommend picking up the book if you haven't already. There's a lot of stuff in there that if you're new to this kind of stuff, a lot of these processes and things will be really helpful for you. But I will have more to share on idea frameworks and stuff in the weeks ahead as well. I do share them in my weekly email newsletter, so make sure you're signed up if you're not already. I think we'll maybe do some more dedicated live streams soon on particular subjects, and maybe that could be one of them. We'll share some techniques for coming up with ideas quickly and easily. Okay, Rolando says thanks. Jacqueline says my email tips and tricks are excellent. Thank you for that. Andrew says thanks. Reza says thanks. Eddie says Michael has a problem with the poster. Yeah, I'll email you, Eddie. Gary says great stuff as always. Jordan says thanks so much. I learned a lot. Okay, thank you guys. I will see you same time next week. Don't forget to go and comment beneath once we finish. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining me. Hope it was helpful, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Thank you guys. Bye bye.